Peterborough, England. A pretty town with a terrible secret. In the summer of 2020, something awful happened that scared everyone. A young girl, Bernadette Walker, just 17 years old, disappeared. Nobody knew where she went. The news spread quickly and the town became filled with fear. Fear for Bernadette. Uncertainty about what happened. Everyone was asking, how could this happen here? Where could she be? A dark truth was hidden, a secret of lies and betrayal. Bernadette was a normal teenager. She had a bright smile that could light up any room she walked into. Her friends often said that her laughter was contagious, and it was impossible to be in a bad mood around her. She was the kind of person who made everyone feel special and valued. She loved music, hanging out with friends and dreaming about her future. Music was her escape, a way to express herself when words weren't enough. She would spend hours listening to her favorite songs, often sharing them with her friends. They would laugh together, creating memories that they thought would last a lifetime. She had her whole life ahead of her, full of hopes and dreams. Bernadette often talked about her aspirations, whether it was traveling the world, pursuing a career she was passionate about, or simply finding happiness in the little things. She was always looking forward, never letting the small setbacks hold her back. Like other teenagers, she enjoyed the simple things and wanted to be independent. She loved spending time outdoors, whether it was hiking in the mountains or just taking a walk in the park. These moments of solitude gave her time to think and dream about the future she wanted to build for herself. Everyone knew her for her happy laugh and her kindness. Her friends cherished the moments they spent together, knowing that Bernadette was always there to lift their spirits. She had a way of making everyone feel like they belonged, and her kindness was something that people admired and respected. Bernadette brought joy to everyone around her. Her family often spoke about how she was the glue that held them together. She had a special bond with each family member, always finding ways to make them smile and feel loved. Her presence was a source of comfort and happiness for everyone who knew her. When she disappeared, it left a big hole in the hearts of her family and friends. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, but the pain of her absence never faded. Her family and friends held on to hope, searching tirelessly for any sign of her, but the uncertainty was a heavy burden to bear. It was a constant reminder that she was gone. The community came together, holding candlelight vigils and offering support to her grieving family. They shared stories and memories of Bernadette, trying to keep her spirit alive in their hearts. The loss was felt deeply by everyone who had the privilege of knowing her. This bright young woman, full of life, was gone, leaving only silence. Her room remained untouched, a stark reminder of the vibrant life that once filled it. The family clung to the memories, finding solace in the love and joy she had brought into their lives. Bernadette's legacy lived on in the hearts of those who loved her, a testament to the beautiful person she was. As the days and weeks passed, the search for Bernadette grew bigger. The community came together, with volunteers joining the police in their efforts. The sense of urgency was palpable, and everyone hoped for a breakthrough. The police started a big investigation, trying to find any clue to where she was. They meticulously examined every piece of evidence, hoping to uncover something that would lead them to Bernadette. The forensic team worked tirelessly, combing through the house and surrounding areas. Every moment felt important, like time was running out. The pressure was immense, and the clock seemed to tick louder with each passing day. The quiet neighborhood, once peaceful, was now a hub of activity and tension. Detectives looked at every possibility, talking to people and searching for evidence. They interviewed countless witnesses, hoping to piece together the puzzle. Every lead was followed, no matter how small or insignificant it seemed. The investigation focused on Bernadette's family. The police presence around their home was constant, and investigators were seen entering and leaving at all hours. The family was under intense scrutiny, and their every move was watched. Her parents, Sarah and David Walker, became the main people the police were looking at. The media coverage was relentless, and their faces were plastered across news channels. The couple's lives were turned upside down as they became the focus of the investigation. The things they said didn't always match up, and that worried the investigators. Something felt wrong. The conflicting statements made by Sarah and David raised red flags, and detectives couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story. The family seemed normal on the outside, but a dark secret was hidden underneath. Neighbors were shocked as they spoke to reporters, unable to reconcile the image of the Walkers with the growing suspicions. The once tight-knit community was now filled with whispers and doubts. David Walker, Bernadette's stepfather, acted like he was worried and sad. He stood in front of the cameras, his voice trembling as he pleaded for any information that could lead to finding Bernadette. His eyes, though seemingly filled with tears, held a certain coldness that was hard to miss. The community rallied behind him, believing his every word, and joined in the search efforts with a sense of urgency and hope. He asked everyone for help to find Bernadette. Volunteers scoured the woods, parks, and neighborhoods, leaving no stone unturned. David's pleas were broadcasted on every local news channel, painting him as a desperate stepfather clinging to the hope of finding his beloved stepdaughter. He seemed like a man who just wanted to find his missing stepdaughter. He handed out flyers, spoke to anyone who would listen, and even organized vigils to keep Bernadette's memory alive. His actions were those of a man deeply affected by a tragic loss, or so it seemed. But he was hiding a terrible secret. Behind the facade of a grieving stepfather was a man with a dark and sinister agenda. His anxious expressions and nervous tics were not just signs of worry but indicators of a deeper, more troubling truth. His stories didn't make sense, and the times he gave for things didn't add up. The police began to notice inconsistencies in his statements. The timeline he provided was full of holes, and his alibis were shaky at best. Each interview with David only raised more questions than answers. The more the police looked into it, the more suspicious David became. They dug deeper into his past, uncovering a history of deceit and manipulation. The evidence against him started to pile up, painting a picture of a man who was far from the concerned stepfather he pretended to be. He told lie after lie, trying to trick the police. Each lie was more elaborate than the last, but the detectives were relentless. They cross-examined his statements, finding contradictions and exposing his fabrications. David's web of deception was slowly unraveling, but the truth always has a way of coming out. In the end, David Walker's lies caught up with him. The evidence was irrefutable, and he was arrested and brought to trial. The community that once supported him watched in shock as the true nature of his character was revealed. Justice was served, and Bernadette's memory was honored. Months after Bernadette disappeared, something terrible happened. They found her body buried in a faraway place, hidden very carefully. This awful news shocked everyone and confirmed their worst fears. Bernadette was gone, and it looked like she had been murdered. The evidence showed that David Walker was connected to the place where Bernadette was found. The police were closing in, and his lies were falling apart. The evidence clearly showed what had happened. David Walker, the man who said he loved Bernadette, had killed her. As the police learned more, a very disturbing picture of the Walker family came out. David Walker was abusive and controlling. He used fear to control his family. People who knew them told stories of abuse, isolation, and control. These were cries for help that nobody heard. Bernadette's disappearance wasn't just a single event. It was the end of a long and terrible pattern of abuse. David Walker's trial shocked the whole country. In the courtroom, the horrible details of Bernadette's murder were revealed. There was so much evidence that it was clear David Walker was guilty. The jury decided he was guilty of murder, and he was sent to prison for the rest of his life. This wasn't enough to make up for what he did, but it was justice for Bernadette. After the trial, people wanted to remember Bernadette. She was more than just a victim. She was a daughter, a friend, a young woman with dreams. Her short life reminded everyone how important it is to recognize and stop domestic abuse. Her story touched many people, making them talk about domestic violence and the dangers of staying silent. The community came together to remember her and promised to keep her memory alive. Bernadette's story shows us that domestic abuse hurts many people and families. It's a big problem that stays hidden because people are afraid to talk about it. We need to talk about it, make people aware, and help victims feel safe to ask for help. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic abuse, please get help. There are places that can help and support you. You are not alone. Together we can stop tragedies like Bernadette's from happening again.